Sir is a CEO in a leading power sector company.
I set up a center for BT in Shanghai, in China, yeah, and I set up a center for BT in Budapest in Hungary. So then I was running all three centers, India, Budapest and China. I did my school in ML Academy, which is the government high school. In 7 days, I would read about 3 or 4 novels. Somewhere back in the mind, I was very hungry for knowledge, not just to pass the exam. Board of directors or my MD thought that I have the right experience and right attitude to do the job of a CEO. Because in CEO job, one is very important, is knowledge is for sure is very important, but your approach and attitude is even more important.
Attitude.
तो मैंने जो सबसे बड़ा परेशानी वो फेस किया उस समय वो यही था, जो बिजली नहीं रहती थी, मच्छर तो दरभंगा में कभी रही नहीं. In ISM Dhanbad, I was all India ranked 74 or 75. I feel that I played a very active role in this building of telecom in India. All India ranked 4 or 5 in NTPC. Well, I follow an open door policy. I don't close the door of my office ever. I was doing MBA from a very, very reputed institute, FMS. FMS New Delhi. That participative style of leadership is my style of leadership. I participate in the affairs of the company as a team member. So that's how I built myself. I built myself for the language, I built myself for the knowledge, and I kind of started in subconscious mind preparing me to compete at a national level. I say this to my team very, very often, that it is fine with me that you have a little bit less knowledge than what is required, because knowledge can be acquired.
Knowledge can be acquired.
Yes.
If you have less knowledge, don't worry.
Don't worry. Knowledge can be acquired, and there are means to acquire knowledge, right? But if you have a lack of attitude, that cannot be acquired.
Getting this?
Yeah. If you have this attitude, and if you have this drive and passion, nobody can stop you. I can tell you, nobody can stop you. And what you have is what your other friends from the metro cities don't have. You have the strength of a struggle.
Getting this now?
You have the strength of a struggle. You know how hard your parents worked to make you come and sit here in this classroom. And you don't take it for granted. ये तो मेरा birthright है. You have to work hard. Your parents have to work hard for you to avail this opportunity. And therefore, your resolve and determination will be 10 times more than a guy who has everything in front of him, and then he does not realize the value of resources, and he takes it easy, and then falters somewhere. There are guys who have everything and they are super motivated. Those are the exceptional guys. But I can tell you, and I live in a metro, I lived in many parts of the world, I can tell you the difference that you can make with your determination, motivation and positive attitude. Guys in the metro would not be able to come anywhere close to it if you have that spirit. And it's very important. Don't think you are less. Don't feel that you are underprivileged. I would say you are overprivileged, because you are coming and making such a hard work. And believe you me, in this age between 20 to 30 is the time to invest. As much hard work you do, you will reap the benefit throughout your life. It's not just me saying, it is written in even the Vedas and Puranas. You decide where I am going and you choose and you pursue that dream. If you have the passion, if you have people like Prasad who can give you mentor.
नमस्कार, मैं हूं प्रकाश सिंह आजाद और आप देख रहे हैं माई कैरियर डॉक्टर.
Very first, Jai Hind. Thank you very much. I feel great today. You will come to know very soon. I mean, the students and viewers. Well, this is My Career Doctor, as all of you know, and we focus to the transformation of individuals. But today, I feel great, and I hope students feel great because we have here with us is Mr. Amitabh Prasad. And right. Or I feel, very nice to tell you that sir is a CEO in a leading power sector company, that is Sterlite Power. Am I right, sir?
Yeah.
Ji. He lives in Brazil, but originally sir comes from Darbhanga, Bihar. And I feel, lucky. I mean, the students of My Career Doctor enough today because we are going to have this interaction. Sir has very vast experience of, experience in professional life. He did his study from Darbhanga, moved to Delhi. Then right now he lives in Brazil because he's a company head there in Sterlite Power. This session is gonna be very, very interesting, and I'm damn sure this is gonna be life-changing kind of stuff, that will help you to stay motivated. I'm sure you get inspiration from sir. This is gonna help you a lot. So if you guys have any question, any doubt, you can ask. But in the last, so sir, I request you, and very first, I'm asking all of you guys to please clap. Let's welcome. Right. Thank you very much, sir. Please, some words to the students of My Career Doctor.
Yeah, sure. Good morning.
Good morning.
Louder. Good morning.
Good morning.
That's the energy. Very, very happy to be here. Prasad requested me to come and talk to you all. I really enjoy talking to the youngsters because at some stage professionals like us will pass on the mantle to you guys to carry forward the burden of development, or rather pleasure of development, and taking India to 5 trillion economy or even beyond that. So really the onus is on you guys. I think for us, we have done part of the job, and the rest of the job will be done by you all. Yeah, so I'm very pleased to be here. Before I start, I would like to ask a very general question. What is that you aspire to be? What is that you aspire to be? In a very, maybe 1 or 2 words, आप क्या बनना चाहते हैं? In this room where all of us are mostly from this area, we all pursue different dreams, right? We all have different agenda. Our lives are built on certain values. The values are different, the agendas are different, and we as a human being are different. But I think the one thing which is common to all of us is the knowledge. For anything that we want to be, we need to have knowledge, right? And there is no substitute to knowledge. And especially, unfortunately, in this part of India where knowledge is not as freely or as easily available to all of us, or may not be of the right quality. But I am thankful to initiatives that Prasad is doing and trying to help you all, not only in what you read in your textbooks, in your class studies, but also prepare you for taking the higher flight in your career through preparing for job interviews or preparing for higher studies, or helping you to be at par with rest of the people whom you compete with. Because India, is a country of 1.4 billion people, right? And for every opportunity, there are maybe 10,000 aspirants. So whatever you want to be, there are 2 things which you will have to do. One is you have to have knowledge, and you have to have lot of competition, right? And many times you feel that you are competing with people who have much better access to resources than some of you or most of you. So how do we prepare ourselves? I will tell you my story. If that helps you, I'll tell you my story. My story is not finished yet. I'm still in chapter number 3 or 4. But whatever chapter I have gone through, I would like to share with all of you today. I am born in this place. In fact, where we are talking right now, this is where I was born, right? I was born here. I was brought up by my parents, and largely I had influence on my life from my grandparents, especially my grandfather. He was a man of principle, man of discipline, man of hard work, a self-made man. He had many credentials to him, but remained humble. His whole aim was to serve society, and those kind of values which he directly or indirectly put into our minds, in me and my sister, whom we grew up here. So, born and brought up in Laherisarai, right here where we are sitting. I did my schooling यहाँ पे public school है पास में वहाँ से, and then ML Academy, which is the government high school, which is here. So till 10th I was studying in these two schools primarily, and in Hindi medium. Yeah, it was, now when I look back it was fun. But that time that is the most natural thing to do, because there were hardly any higher education available in English medium, and perhaps my parents also wanted me to be part of the system rather than sending me to some English school somewhere else. So I was very much here studying with all my friends in Hindi medium till 10th, and after 10th I did my, those days it was intermediate of science, ISC, not +2, in CM Science College, and that is where I took the science stream with mathematics. Maths was my passion, so I took mathematics, and I passed out in 1987. I did my matriculation in 85, and many of you may not have been even born there in 85. So, and 87 I did my inter. So one thing which was very apparent to me was that school studies is not going to be sufficient. It was not going to be sufficient. There were very competent teachers. I would say this, unfortunately today the quality of teachers which perhaps have taught us may not be the same today. Maybe it is moving downwards. And those were the teachers who were very hard on us. They were not easy on us. They were very hard on us. But if they were not hard, we would not have worked so hard. And I decided to work even harder. So even when they told us that this is the NCERT textbooks and you have to study from this book, I would generally buy 2 or 3 more for every subject and try to solve all of them myself, and not tell anybody, because if I tell them that I am reading from Bharti Bhavan also, if I am reading from Pustak Mahal also, they will be very upset that why are you trying to do more than what I am telling you. So that was my personal motivation, because I knew that at some stage I will compete with rest of India. I will not just compete with my friends in the classroom, but rest of India, because I had a dream to reach to the highest level of education, and in the best possible institute I could compete for. Right from class 7, 8, 9, 10th, that is something which was very clear in my mind, that I have to do more than what I am getting here. My parents, they also tried to help me, my grandfather, by arranging some private tuitions and all that. Those days there were no coaching classes, so we were doing private tuitions or exchanging notes with the classmates. But somewhere back in the mind, I was very hungry for knowledge, not just to pass the exam, but knowledge. And my single focus even for science subject was to know the concept. Rather than solving the problem, I was after the concept, always. And I realized that if I am able to understand the concept very well, I could solve most of the problem no matter from which book it will come. That gave me a lot of confidence, really, a lot of confidence. And but still, even doing all that, I was still missing something which I was not able to really understand. What is that I am missing? I mean, I am trying my best, studying 8 to 10 hours, self-study, then school, then tuition. The whole life was about studies. But what is that I am missing? Then I realized I had a chance to travel abroad with my parents because my part of my family is outside India, so we traveled abroad. And then there I realized what I am missing. I was really missing how to put my words into conversation. So if you ask me, I had scored very well in the English 1, English 2. That was the subject that was taught in the matriculation. But when it came to expressing myself in English or talking to somebody whom I didn't know, I had lot of hesitation. See, मेरा मजाक तो नहीं उड़ाएंगे ये, ऐसा तो नहीं मैं कुछ और बोल जाऊँ, ऐसा तो नहीं I want to say something and they understand something else. And then imagine I was exposed to the outside world, outside India world, where they speak in a very different accent, tone, everything is so tough. So it was a double whammy. I was really hit by both the sides. And I realized that I have worked so hard on myself, I have gained so much of knowledge, everybody has helped me to give so much of knowledge. But what is the use of this knowledge if I am not able to practice it and talk to people about it? I am not able to present myself on a platform. And if I am not able to present myself, then I am nowhere in comparison to these guys. So just having the knowledge is very important. But what may be equally important is how you present the knowledge. तो फिर मैं लौट से जब उधर से आया तो मैं सोचा how to improve this part, and all this was happening when I was 12-13 year old.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Normally we don't have any idea when we are 12 or 13.
Yeah.
We think after 20 or 30, but at that time you were very much serious.
Yeah.
Just because of the great environment your grandparent had.
Yeah, I really feel that way, that if I was not exposed to this kind of situation, I may not have even realized what I am missing.
Great.
Yeah. Then I thought about it, how to acquire knowledge, how to express knowledge, how to present myself, how to talk in English, how to express myself. So my grandfather had a very nice selection of English novels in the house. It is still there. If any one of you want to come, you can see some 300-400 novels of English, but very simply written in a very simple language. Those were largely stories, spy stories. So he was very fond of reading spy stories. So every day in the afternoon, when everybody after lunch goes to take some rest, I will pick up one novel and I will read. So I used to read about, in 7 days, I would read about 3 or 4 novels in 7 days. So that was my speed. I built that speed where I was actually, after some time, I was not reading, I was just looking at it and I was moving on. Because I was able to imprint that on my mind, process it and move on. It really helped me much in my later part of my career. So in those 2-3 years time, between then to my +2 or inter, I would have read around 300 novels, English novels. Yeah. And
I hope you guys are learning something.
Yeah.
He realized at the age of 12, and I want you to realize right now after listening, sir.
Yes. It gave me a lot of confidence that now I have read. I also used to practice that on some of my friends, or when I used to go to Delhi or wherever where my other cousins were, who were other family members who were educated in a very sophisticated manner. I would try to talk to them and try to express myself. And I thought now I am very well prepared because I have read and understood how the conversation is done, right? And this is what they don't teach you in the textbooks. The conversation part is what they don't teach you in the textbooks, yeah. So that's how I built myself. I built myself for the language, I built myself for the knowledge, and I kind of started in subconscious mind preparing me to compete at a national level. And I had no doubt in my mind that I would do mathematics. I had no doubt in my mind that I would do engineering. I had also no doubt in my mind that even if my parents would never stop me from doing that, because I come from a family of doctors. My grandfather was a doctor, my mother was a doctor, my father was a doctor, my uncle was a doctor, my aunt was a doctor. So I come from the family of doctors. I was aspiring to be the first engineer in the family.
Yeah. And they were very famous and renowned doctors of this area.
Yeah. And
Yes.
yeah. And nobody ever told me to engineer banna chahte ho. Nobody. So I really thanks my parents and my guardians that they allowed me to do what I wanted to do. So
BTech from where?
So this is also a story. I when I was filling up the form, so first of all, how I prepared for the BTech. I mean, I would, as I told you, I had developed the habit of solving problems from many books. So when I was in intermediate of science, ISC, I thought just NCRT will not take me through to the exam. So I started buying lot of second-hand books from here. ये जो लहरियासराय मोड़ पे जो दुकान है ना,
कमर्शियल शॉप,
हाँ वहाँ पे वो जो ट्रायंगल टाइप सा है ना दुकान यहाँ पे स्वीट होम से सामने, हाँ वहाँ से जाते मैं हर रोज़ कुछ ले आता था वहाँ से. इंग्लिश में इसमें फिजिक्स में आई बॉट रेस्निथ हॉलीडे. आई डोंट नो यू गाइस हैव डन रेस्निथ हॉलीडे और नॉट. रशियन राइटर्स की किताबें ले आता था, वो बड़े सस्ते मिलते थे रशियन राइटर्स. केमिस्ट्री में ले आया रॉबिन्सन. इस टाइप की किताबें लाते. आई यूज टू सॉल्व. समटाइम्स इवन माई टीचर्स वर वेरी फ्रस्ट्रेटेड दैट वेयर फ्रॉम यू ब्रिंग दिस प्रॉब्लम्स टू अस. Yeah. I have completed 52 years this year. No, 53 years this year. Yeah.
In this 52 years, you were living there in Brazil.
Yeah. Yes.
But originally you are from Darbhanga.
I am from this place where I am sitting right now. Yeah.
And sir, could you share your past days? How much difficulties you face in your life?
How much?
Difficulties you face in your life?
Difficulties are of many shapes and forms. I was not facing too much of difficulty in those days due to any resources, because my parents were, first of all, they were very open-minded. My grandfather was very open-minded, and he was very, very focused on education. And that does not mean expensive education. It's because I studied in government schools. My annual fee in ML Academy was 100 rupees.
Annual fee.
Annual fee. 10 rupees or 8 rupees. If I pay in 100 rupees one time, that is the fee. Otherwise, monthly fee was 10 rupees. So I have come from that side. I never had any uniform. मैं तभी स्कूल यूनिफॉर्म में नहीं गया. नेवर. जब पब्लिक स्कूल में था 2-3 साल तो वहाँ यूनिफॉर्म था. अदरवाइज़ मैं 7th ऑनवर्ड्स मैंने तभी यूनिफॉर्म नहीं पहना. मेरे पास स्कूल बैग नहीं था. इसलिए नहीं था कि मेरे पास हो नहीं सकता था. इसलिए नहीं था क्योंकि मेरे सारे दोस्त वैसे ही जाते थे, तो मैं भी वैसे ही जाता था. तो
that time uniform was compulsory or?
नहीं, कंपलसरी था नहीं यहाँ पे. हाँ नहीं था.
And what was the name of your public school?
ये यहाँ यहीं पे है बलभद्रपुर में जो है ना बच्चा बाबू था जो पब्लिक स्कूल था उस समय. आई डोंट नो अब है भी या नहीं. बेला में तो दरभंगा पब्लिक स्कूल बोलते हैं ये. अच्छा. नो, दिस वाज अ प्राइवेटली रन पब्लिक स्कूल बाय. बच्चा बाबू वकील थे यहाँ पे, इसी मोहल्ले में रहते थे, उन्हीं का था. और उसमें स्टैंडर्ड 4 से स्टैंडर्ड 7 मैं पढ़ा वहाँ पे. और 7th से बाद यहाँ पे, प्राइमरी से बाद यहाँ पे सेकेंडरी स्कूल में आया था इसमें. तो मैंने जो सबसे बड़ा परेशानी वो फेस किया उस समय वो यही था, जो बिजली नहीं रहती थी. मच्छर तो दरभंगा में कभी कमी रही नहीं. हाँ. और जो हमारा दायरा था ना वो इतने ही दूर में था, तो हमें इससे बाहर समझने का या जानने का अवसर प्राप्त हुआ नहीं था. आई नेवर गॉट टू नो दैट हाउ students in St. Michael's Patna or Science College Patna or wherever, St. Xavier's Ranchi or wherever, I didn't know. But I had friends from the same school, ML Academy, who had taken admission in those Science College and St. Xavier's, those kind of college. And when they used to come in summer vacation, I used to see what they are studying. They were at a very different level. I took admission in ISM Dhanbad. Somebody told my father that your son will be a mining engineer for rest of his life. He will be in the coal mine inside. His life will be hell. So, and I had some health issues right from my childhood days. So he said, no, this life is not for you. Look at some other option. So I got 2 more competition I cleared in the same year in my first attempt. One was at BIT Sindri. Another was at Mesra, BIT Mesra. But Mesra came much later, Sindri results come much earlier. So I was within top 100 ranks holder in Sindri. I was getting all the branches, so I went and joined Sindri. After spending 3 months in ISM Dhanbad. In ISM Dhanbad, I was all India ranks 74 or 75. A lot of my teachers in ISM told me, no, you can change your branch to petroleum, you can change your branch to mining machinery. Tell your father that you will not be in the coal mine, we will find a better department for you. But that time, that India was very different than today's India, right? The knowledge was not there. So what was the source of knowledge? That you will ask somebody who is in that field. So one of my uncle, he was in telecom department. What is BSNL today used to be DOT, Department of Telecom. And he was also from Sindri. So he said, अगर Sindri में मिल रहा है तो वहाँ चले जाओ. So I went, and I have no regrets. I have absolutely no regrets. Electronics and telecommunication. Electronics and communication. No, Brazilian speak Portuguese. I will touch on that.
Please talk about your journey to be a CEO.
Yeah. So after passing out from BIT Sindri, I had a job with NTPC, and NTPC was one of the most prestigious jobs that time, and it was a written test and a viva and whatnot. So I scored very well, and I was all India ranked 4 or 5 in NTPC. But I did not. I joined, and then somehow I got an offer from a private sector, which was a Modi Xerox that time, photocopier company, the Xerox that you see today. And when I went for my interview in their plant, I said, oh God, किसी तरह यहाँ हो जाए, फिर मैं यहाँ से जाऊँगा ही नहीं कभी. It was such a lovely plant. First private job. I was leaving the government job and coming to the private sector, and without telling my parents. So, but I knew parents always supported me. So I never went to join NTPC. It was a great job and a very stable job. Some of my friends who joined NTPC that time are doing so well. They are at a very senior level. They have reached CGM, director, those level of positions. But I decided to move to a private sector because I thought as an individual I can contribute more. My contributions would be more valued in private sector. So I joined Modi Xerox as a design and engineering, R&D engineer, and I was doing the chip design, microprocessor chip design. That was my first job, and I did that for almost 5 years. But within that, I moved department from design, I came to vendor development, from there I came to supplier quality, all that was happening. India was very high on manufacturing that time. I am talking, my first job was in 91, 92. So you can imagine, there was very small service sector that time. Especially there was no IT service There was no concept of IT service. So any job would be either a government job or a private job, but manufacturing. For an engineer, it was largely manufacturing job. So I did that, then I joined another telecom company, because the India privatization of telecom was happening in 95. Something that you would read in your economics or civics when Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao started privatization in 91. By the time the new telecom policy started, it was 95. It was called NTP 95, New Telecom Policy 95. And I have lived through that policy. So, and that is when the private players were allowed to produce equipment for government, and then private services like mobile telephony and other things started in 98. 97, 98 was when the first time telecom licenses were awarded to provide mobile service. I was very fascinated as a telecom and electronics engineer. I thought someday I should be in the telecom world. Telephone exchange बचपन से बड़ा मुझे बहुत ही अच्छा लगता था. Maybe because it was air conditioned and maybe because those large machines, I wanted to understand how these machines work. So I got my chance to join a telecom company, which is Bharti Airtel, way back in 97. And it was the first project for Bharti in the state of Madhya Pradesh, Bhopal mein. And that was not mobile telephone, that was for wireline telephone, which was India mein that time wireline telephone. So I don't want to make it a very long story, but what really happened was that perhaps I was choosing the right sector at the right time, because telecom explosion happened in early 2000. Telecom and IT explosion happened, and I was right there when this was happening. And I had a good fortune to work with a very enterprising organization like Bharti, which was very entrepreneurial in the sense that you had a lot of empowerment, you could do whatever. Obviously there were processes and system, but the company expected you to start and take responsibility for whatever you want to do. I don't think a lot of companies have the same DNA today. So when you are choosing your career, be very careful. Be where you have the empowerment to do what you want to do. Otherwise you will become part of the system, you will have a nice and easy life, but your growth will also go up to a point. It will not go like exponential. So perhaps I was lucky to be part of the telecom revolution in the country. And I, in my own modest way, I feel that I played a very active role in this building of telecom in India. I was especially very interested to build telecom in Bihar. So I remember when we got license to operate in Bihar, in the board meetings, I was not that senior, I was a general manager level person that time. In the board meeting I was sitting because I was making the presentation, and people were very, very excited to put their first networks in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, Mumbai and all those places, and nobody was talking about Bihar. I said, sir, how about Bihar? No, Bihar mein nahi jana hai abhi.
Sir, he is from Rajasthan.
Really, Bihar, बोला बिहार में नहीं जाना है, वहाँ पे पैसे नहीं मिलेंगे कस्टमर से. Really, this is the real story. You will not read it in magazines. I am giving you the real experience in the boardroom what happened. So I said, sir, how about launching only prepaid service in Bihar? No postpaid. आपको पता है ना प्रीपेड पोस्टपेड में फ़र्क. आप पहले पैसे देते हो फिर सिम कार्ड लेते हो. पोस्टपेड में आप पहले सर्विस यूज़ करते हैं, बाद में पैसे देते हैं, और अगर आप पैसे नहीं दिए तो पैसे फंस जाते हैं कंपनी से. मैं बोला, सर हाउ अबाउट 100% प्रीपेड इन बिहार. तो फिर कुछ लोग थोड़ा सोचने पे मजबूर हुए. फिर मैं बोला, सर हाउ अबाउट ओनली 5 cities इन बिहार. तो मेरा जो CEO थे आज भी, एंड I really I feel if I am where I am, he has a large role in making me where I am as a professional and personal. Mr. Manoj Sohli. Yeah. Yutan Luthap, who is on the internet, you will find out who is he. He said, Amitabh, I have only one condition. If you will ensure that you sit in there in Patna and Metinda Telethon happen in Bihar. I said, sir, I will be there, sir. And I opened a small office for Airtel in Chanatya Hotel in Patna. Basement में जाते छोटा सा रूम लेते चालू किया था वहाँ से. And today, I think 30% of Airtel's profitability comes from Bihar. Yeah.
30% profit
Yeah.
of Airtel.
Yeah, comes from Bihar. At least that was the situation when I was leaving the company. We put 100 towers, and more than 100 towers were more than 100% utilized on the first day. We put 500 towers, again the same thing happened. We put 5,000 towers, again the same thing happened. And now I think Airtel has more than 15,000 towers, or even more than that. I don't have that number in my mind. And that's the one of the highest utilization of service in Bihar. Because at least I knew this much, that Bihar is hungry for good infrastructure, right? And everybody who lives in Bihar has a need to communicate, because उनसे कोई ना कोई परिवार से सदस्य बाहर जरूर रहते हैं. तो what I am trying to say is that no dream is a small dream if you push at the right time. If you are convinced that this is the right thing to do, you should not lose your patience. If not today, tomorrow something will happen. If not tomorrow, day after tomorrow will happen. But you should not leave pursuing your dreams. Airtel ki journey se baad mein, then I thought, let me get some knowledge of how the global companies operate. So I joined a global company called DuPont. It's a very, very large US company, $30 billion turnover company. And it has the highest number of patents. It's known as a science company. It's
What's the name, sir?
DuPont.
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 Okay. DuPont.
Yeah. And it gave me an exposure to run. I was heading the Asia Pacific business for IT in DuPont. It gave me an experience to know how the global companies operate, how complex it is to manage, let's say, operation which is spread over 20, 30, 40 odd countries. Because till that time I was having experience in managing business in India. So as I told you, I am very impatient. So I said, ठीक है, India में तो थोड़ा बहुत समझ लिया how business is done. How about learning how to do business outside India? So with that aim in mind, I changed to DuPont. And I learned to know how to work with bosses who were somewhere else. Somebody is in US, somebody is in Singapore, somebody in Australia. How to deal with my team members who are in Japan, Korea, wherever. How to come over the language barrier. How to communicate with them. How to ensure that what I am trying to say is well understood. So I really wanted to learn that part. And I had a good experience with DuPont. And then I had a chance to join another very, very large international company called British Telecom.
Yes.
Yeah. So BT was looking for somebody to start India operation. And they found that somebody like me can bring lot of value. So I was the first employee for BT in India.
And what was your designation, sir?
I was director of procurement for BT.
Director of Procurement.
Yeah. So I spent 5 years in BT. I set up the BT global sourcing team in India. And when the BT headquarters realized that this is a very good model, they told me that why don't you set up something similar in China and Europe. So I set up a center for BT in Shanghai, in China. Yeah. And I set up a center for BT in Budapest in Hungary. So then I was running all three centers, India, Budapest and China, in 3 time zones. So for me, the day will start at 5:30 in the morning and finish at 9:30 in the evening. But I was really, really very motivated, because this was a real global experience for me. I mean, I had colleagues in China, I had a team in India, and I had a center in Budapest and Romania, that area, Eastern Europe. And I was dealing with 7 languages. I was dealing with professionals from around the world. It really gave me exposure how to do business at a global scale. I was director of procurement, but it also gave me a kind of a mini CEO life experience, because I was looking at all the matters of this center, whether it was HR matter or administrative matter or financial matter or profit, all put together as a in charge. Nobody, so another very important point here I would like to raise. Nobody asked me to expand myself. People said, can you try? And when they said, can you try, I should have said no. Because it was easy for me to have said no, because I had a family to manage back at home. I knew I am submitting myself to almost 15 hours a day kind of a schedule. And during that time I was doing my MBA also. So I didn't know how I will find time, but I didn't say no. I said yes, I will manage. And I was doing the MBA from a very, very reputed institute, FMS, FMS New Delhi, Delhi University.
Yes.
And it was not a correspondence source. It was like I was going to university every day in the evening.
And it's very reputed. It's like
Yeah.
I am Ahmedabad,
Yeah.
FMS Delhi.
It's always in last 10-20 years, it has always been within top 5.
Yes.
And I'm very proud to have studied at FMS with a very high quality faculty. I mean, those are the teachers, they write books, and their books are the benchmarks for MBA students. Whether it is for tax, whether it is for finance, whether it is for global finance, investment banking, or whatever subject you pick up, the books written by FMS professors are benchmarks. And also I should have remained in the procurement domain, because supply chain and procurement was my domain. But then I was always sensing that if I remain in this domain, though I love to do this, maybe I will not be able to be a COO or a CEO or heading an operation at some day. So my mind was already there that I have to reach there somehow. And then I found this opportunity where they were ready to give me chance to run 3 centers, and chance to run these 3 centers end to end. Not just as a procurement leader, but also as a center leader. So it helped me to open my brain on how to hire people, how to train people, how to do financial modeling, how to look at balance sheet, profit and loss account, cash flow statements. So kind of mini CEO sort of role it was. And after that, I again went to Africa. I lived there for 3 years with my family, because Airtel was setting up a center in Africa at that time. And again it was a startup mode, because we were only few people and we had to manage 19 countries. And half of the Africa was speaking English, half of them were speaking French. And it was very difficult to work in an English and a French environment. But end of it, after a lot of, I learned few words of French, but I would not say that I learned the language. But I learned how to handle myself. I used to work through the interpreter. There were people who used to interpret. That also is not easy, right? Because when you say something in English, he will convert into French. And then the person sitting in front of you will speak in French. Then he will tell me in English. Then I have to respond in English, and then he would convert that in French. And there is a very good chance that there will be some mistake somewhere. If I do say something, I may not mean that, and then you have to be very careful.
Yes.
Very, very careful. It slows you down, because the conversation has one more layer of complexity. But here the real skill was to ensure that whatever you are saying is understood properly. And mind you, this is not easy. Even in English, when you English can be spoken in many ways.
Yes.
So if I just say how are you, right? The how are you itself can be said in 3 or 4 different ways, and they have different meanings, right? So language is not just about the formation of sentence, it's how you speak. For example, I'll tell you, in Portuguese language, there is no question mark.
There is no question.
There is no question mark. How you speak the sentence becomes either a question or a statement. Right? If somebody says, do I need to do this? It can be a question and it can be a statement also. But the way he will say, it will appear as a question or a statement. So it has one more layer of complexity. In English you have a question mark and then you know it's a question. But when you
speaking is ensure that this is question.
yeah, but when you write, no, when you read, you don't know how it is spoken, right? Because in English, when you put a sentence and put a question mark, you know it's a question. In Portuguese or Spanish or even Latin, perhaps, I don't know. When you write, it's just a full stop. So now you have to understand the context and then understand whether it is a question or a statement. So those are the kind of complexity. So Africa was a great experience for me and my family. We lived in Nairobi, Kenya, we traveled all over. Then a sort of mini CEO life experience I had in Africa, where I was not just doing my job, but also I was trying to see a lot of other things around that. One thing I always used to ask, it's very easy when you join corporate world, a lot of people will say, this is not your job. Or a lot of time you will have a tendency to say, no, this is not my job. Right? Because people try to define their boundaries. It's good and bad both. Sometimes it's good to know your boundaries, but sometimes you have to really ask your question, is it really my boundary? And then one of the most important questions which I have always asked myself, that what is right for the company? What is right for the organization? If I am convinced that this is right for the company, I will try to do it and not leave it for somebody else to do it, or ensure that somebody else does it. But I will not leave it halfway. That is a conviction I always had, and that is why perhaps I could get this opportunity, and my board of directors or my MD thought that I have the right experience and right attitude to do the job of a CEO. Because in CEO job, one is very important, is knowledge is for sure is very important, but your approach and attitude is even more important.
Attitude.
Yeah. If for example, I follow an open door policy, I don't close the door of my office ever. Because I don't do any conversation which I have to hide from my other people, or I don't want to give an impression to my team that you cannot come inside, or I don't want to give an impression to my team that when you have to meet me, you have to go through my assistant and then schedule a slot or schedule a meeting with me, then only you can meet. I follow a very different, I follow a very democratic way of leadership, is my style of leadership. I would also say that participative style of leadership is my style of leadership. I participate in the affairs of the company as a team member, not as a CEO. As a CEO, I have to take a lot of decisions which I only can take, because that's how the organizations are built. But I work with my team as a team member so that I understand what's the real issue and if I can solve it with my experience or my resources. I don't try to sit in my chair and say, now please come and tell me what is your problem. I want to be with them to solve the problem, then rather than trying to do a tell me and then I will listen to you, then I will think about it. That's not my style of working, because I feel it brings lot of inefficiency in the system. I would rather be part of the process than sitting outside the process. But at the same time, I am very, very mindful that my team is, I always have a very strong team who know how to do their job very well, and they can do their job with minimum guidance. They don't need me to tell them how to do the job, right? So sometimes it's very difficult for me, right? How much should I go inside and how much should I keep outside? So because they are experts in their own area, right? So I cannot tell them, no, tell me everything. Then what is the fun, right? They know more than me, and I accept that my team members who are experts, they know more than me. And my contribution is to keep them together. You know, have you seen the orchestra? Have you seen orchestra where people play different instruments? Somebody is on violin, somebody is on the drums, somebody is on flute, somebody is on saxophone, somebody is on piano. All of them are brilliant musicians. Brilliant musicians. But why you need a orchestra leader? Right? Because when they play together in a symphony, that creates the magic. That creates the impact. If they play individually, it will have an impact. But when they play together and play together in a sequence or in an order or as per the how the music is composed, then you see the power of music. So I feel as a CEO, that's my role, of a symphony conductor or an orchestra leader. Everybody is an expert. I have to ensure that they play their best, and not only they play their best in the right tune. And you know, sometimes piano guy stops and then guitar guy starts. So that level of synchronization, if there is in the team, that's the secret of a successful team. I will step back and somebody else will take over. It's not that I know the best, so I will always be saying this is it. Imagine if a piano guy plays piano all through, how bad it will sound, right? So it's a combination which will. So over the years, what has happened is I have tried to gain subject matter knowledge in my own area of procurement, supply chain, management, financial side, human resource side, operation side. I have tried to understand the human philosophy, how they work, what is right, what is not so right, what is their attitude, what is my attitude, how do we gel together as a team. And I keep saying this to my team is, I can be tolerant or I can accept lack of knowledge to some extent, but I cannot accept lack of attitude at all.
You getting this, guys?
Yeah.
Sir, please repeat this again.
I say this to my team very, very often, that it is fine with me that you have a little bit less knowledge than what is required, because knowledge can be acquired.
Knowledge can be acquired.
Yes.
If you have less knowledge, don't worry.
Don't worry. Knowledge can be acquired, and there are means to acquire knowledge, right? But if you have a lack of attitude, that cannot be acquired.
Getting this?
Yeah.
Attitude must be.
If you are if you are even 80% on knowledge and 100% on attitude, you are a great guy. But the reverse is not true. And the reverse is, you are 100% on knowledge and 80% on attitude. It will create problem for you, and it will create problem for other team members also. So one thing that I want, all of you guys are very young, you all are looking very eager to me, and the reason why you are in this class is because you want to learn and grow. that you are already showing a very positive attitude and an open mind. If you didn't have an open mind and a positive attitude, you would not have come here. That's how I see it. Keep your attitude as something that is very positive, is always to move on, to move on, to move on. What is next? What more? What else? These are the questions you have to ask yourself. Sometimes we all fall in the trap of getting sympathy from people around us. अरे मेरे साथ तो ये हो गया. Then that fellow, अरे यार बहुत बुरा हुआ. अगर तुम्हारे साथ ऐसा नहीं होते तो आज तो तुम मेंस निकाल रहे होते. ये सब टाइप से डायलॉग्स बिहार में बहुत प्रचलित है ये सब. And I have lost some of my very good friends who have fallen in this trap. When I say lost means they derailed from their tracks. अगर तुम्हारे साथ ऐसा नहीं हुआ होता तो तुम तो आज पता नहीं कहाँ होते. इस टाइप से डायलॉग कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है इससे, बल्कि वो आपको पीछे ला रहा है. आपको ये सोचना है, इफ़ नॉट दिस देन व्हाट एल्स, व्हाट मोर, व्हाट नेक्स्ट. If you have this attitude and if you have this drive and passion, nobody can stop you. I can tell you, nobody can stop you. And what you have is what your other friends from the metro cities don't have. You have the strength of a struggle.
Getting this now?
You have the strength of a struggle. You know how hard your parents worked to make you come and sit here in this classroom. And you don't take it for granted. ये तो मेरा birthright है. You have to work hard. Your parents have to work hard for you to avail this opportunity. And therefore, your resolve and determination will be 10 times more than a guy who has everything in front of him and then he does not realize the value of resources and he takes it easy and then falters somewhere. There are guys who have everything and they are super motivated. Those are the exceptional guys. But I can tell you, and I live in a metro, I lived in many parts of the world, I can tell you the difference that you can make with your determination, motivation and positive attitude. Guys in the metro would not be able to come anywhere close to it if you have that spirit. And it's very important. Don't think you are less. Don't feel that you are underprivileged. I would say you are overprivileged because you are coming and making such a hard work. And believe you me, in this age between 20 to 30 is the time to invest. As much hard work you do, you will reap the benefit throughout your life. It's not just me saying, it is written in even the Vedas and Puranas.
Yes, sir.
The formative mind and the ability to do hard work at this stage of your life is infinite. You decide where I am going and you choose and you pursue that dream. If you have the passion, if you have people like Prasad who can give you mentor. One thing also I would say, along with determination, motivation, hard work, passion, attitude, everything, it will do wonders to you as a person. But all of you need a mentor in your life. You need a lighthouse. A mentor is like a lighthouse, right? He shows all of you know the lighthouse?
Yes, sir.
Not that picture hall lighthouse. Lighthouse is the tower which is built generally in the seashores, and they have light on top of it to tell the ship that this is where I am. This is where you have to reach.
There is very famous lighthouse in
Alexandria, lot of lighthouses. The world is full of lighthouses because the navigation in the world first started from sea.
Yes, sir.
So that is why around I have seen many lighthouses I have seen in Istanbul, I have seen in Portugal, Lisbon, I have seen in Africa, I have seen in India. I have seen lighthouse amazes me always because there is structure. They are weathering the sea and the storm for hundreds and hundreds of years. So that's the strength of the lighthouse. That despite all the turbulence and all the force of nature, it stands there. And it guides the ship and tells them, Mr. Captain of the ship, you have to reach here. But, and this is very important, the captain has to reach there, but captain can reach there by infinite number of paths. He can come straight, he can come sideways, then come that sideways. He has to navigate the waves. लाइट हाउस उससे डेस्टिनेशन बताता है, लाइट हाउस उसको उधर पहुंचने में कोई मदद नहीं करता है. मेंटर जो है वो लाइट हाउस है, और रास्ते से में पहुंचना और रास्ते से वेव्स को नेविगेट करना वो आपका नॉलेज और आपका एटीट्यूड है.
एटीट्यूड, नॉलेज.
मैंने गेट सम वाटर. मैं भी कभी सोचता हूँ कि जिस समय मैं ISM का फॉर्म भर रहा था, अगर मुझे नॉलेज होता कि मेरे जो भी हेल्थ वजह है या मेरे पेरेंट्स का जो भी सोचना है, अगर उनका सोच ये होता कि मुझे एक डिसेंट कॉर्पोरेट एनवायरनमेंट में बैठते ही अपना प्रोफेशन बिल्ड करना है, तो हो सकता है मैं चॉइस ऑफ ब्रांच उस हिसाब से भरता. हो सकता था ना. तो जब फॉर्म भरते हैं ISM था या किसी भी इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज था उस टाइम पे, आप तो ऑनलाइन भरते हैं, तो वो चॉइस 1, चॉइस 2, चॉइस 3 पूछता है वो. तो हम सोचे ISM, इफ़ आई एम टू गो टू ISM, इंडियन स्कूल ऑफ माइंस, देन आई शुड स्टडी माइनिंग इंजीनियरिंग. इसमें व्हाट इज़ देयर टू थिंक अबाउट इट. या बट इफ़ आई हैड दिस नॉलेज एंड इफ़ आई हैड अ मेंटर who would have said, fine, you are going to this college.
Sorry, forget, we should have
No,
done this.
no problem. No problem. Thank you. आपका समय जब आप हो जाए तो मुझे बता दीजिएगा.
नहीं, कोई बात नहीं. आई होप यू गाइज आर लर्निंग अ लॉट. ये चीज़ें आपको सीखने में मुझे पूरा यकीन है आधी उम्र गुजर जाएंगी. That you are learning here. In fact, I am also learning a lot. Yes, Bachcha Party?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So other, if I had a mentor who would have said, boss, if you fill up the form and if this is your parents don't want you to work in the mining environment, I would have filled the form in a different way. And then my life would have been very different, right? But maybe I would have still become a corporate leader like I am today, but my path would have been different. But by grace of God and by hard work and passion, the lighthouse remained where it was. My path went sideways and then reached to the lighthouse, and I still have another lighthouse to cross. So it's not the end of it. I have another ambition, and I am working on that ambition even now. Every day I work on my new ambition. Sometimes even it affects me and it affects my daily life. So sometimes my wife and my children say, slow down, take it easy. But I think if we are blessed to be born in human incarnation, मैं थोड़ा mythological भी पढ़ता हूँ, try to understand life, try to understand this सृष्टि. I try to understand the world in the 360 way. As an engineer, I have a very logical way of thought process. But then I also try to understand the divine way of this Shrishti. तो जब मैं उस हिसाब से सोचता हूँ that if we are so lucky to have been born in human incarnation, then you can't while away your time. You have to remain positive. You have to do something. And not everybody has to become Mahatma Gandhi, not everybody has to become John F. Kennedy, or not everybody can be a C.V. Raman, not everybody can be a Newton. But everybody's contribution is important in this सृष्टि. जो आया है उसका हर इस सृष्टि को आगे ले जाने में उसका रोल है, तय है. एक छोटी सी चींटी का भी रोल तय है और ह्यूमन का भी रोल तय है. तो अगर ऐसा है, if it is like this, then why not to make most out of it? So there are two parts of the brain. I don't know if some of you were there when I met you for the first time 2 days back. There are two parts of the brain, right and left. They tell you what is logical, the other side tells you what is emotional. So logical thought process is very important at the stage of life where you are. The emotional quotient, which is about trying to make meaning out of human behavior, trying to make meaning out of society, trying to make meaning out of lot of abstract things. Those are the second level of management, because a manager can not do everything himself. A manager will have to get job done from people around him, and a manager cannot have everybody reporting to him. If I am your boss, there is a good chance that you will do what I tell you, right? Boss ही है तो boss का तो मानना पड़ेगा. But if I have to get job done from you and I am not your boss, then how do I handle this human behavior? This is perhaps the most important part of the management and the leadership journey. That you don't have a relationship with me, I don't have a relationship, but I have a larger interest of the organization in front of me, and therefore I need you to do something. But you don't report to me, right? But how do I motivate you? How do you put enthusiasm in you that you will do it better than what I have thought? I think this is the last stage of leadership, where people, when I don't want to take name of any political leader or someone, when you see a leader you admire, he does not know you, you have only seen his photo, right? But you try to follow him. Why? Because he has connected with your brain in a subconscious way. You have to connect with people to the extent that you become their role model. And till the time you are not considering yourself as a role model, find a role model. Find somebody like Prasad. Find somebody like your father, your uncle, your aunt, or whosoever. See the role model. People learn by experience.
Like we have said.
Okay. Yeah. इनसे बड़ा रोल मॉडल तो पृथ्वी पे नहीं मिल सकता है. इनकी एक स्टेटमेंट में उतनी गहराई है जितना समझने में लोगों से ज़िंदगी पार हो जाती है. स्वामी विवेकानंद. और हम फॉर्चुनेट हैं दैट वी कम फ्रॉम द सेम सॉइल एज स्वामी जी. If you are not able to find that one person, then read. YouTube पे आजकल तो नेटफ्लिक्स का दौर है, सब लोग नेटफ्लिक्स पे सीरीज़ और मूवीज़ देखते हैं. अगर उसमें से आधा भी टाइम आप कुछ लर्निंग तो डिवोट करें या कुछ ऐसी बातें सुनने में जो आप सब help you in developing your personality, I think it will do wonders. And what you hear, and the research has shown that what you see makes the maximum impact on your mind. What you hear makes the second maximum. What you read is the third maximum. So if you read something 3 or 4 or 5 times, you will remember. If you hear something maybe 1 or 2 times, you will remember. When you see and experience something in front of you, you will never forget.
See and experience.
Yeah. And your brain will not develop anymore how hard you try. Okay? What will happen is you can liberate more and more neurons, and neurons will make more connection, and then they will give you more thinking power to your brain. But the development of brain, generally the formative period is over in the early stages of life. So what we have to do is now to utilize that part of the brain, or liberate that much of quantum of neuron which you would not be able to do if you don't make that effort. For example, if you learn a new language, it liberates a certain part of your brain and neuron which gives you more power as an individual of your thought process and your thinking process to your brain. You are able to process more. The lifespan of your brain enhances, and you are more stronger individual than yourself. Many times lot of us say body is slave of what brain tells it to do, right? Will power है जिस बंदे में वो कर लेता है. We hear this dialogues and these statements. बॉस मेहनत तो बहुत है, विल पावर नहीं है. What's the difference? Will power is determined by the brain. If the brain tells you this you will do, you will do. No matter how hard you try, but if the brain is not aligned, you will not get the right result. You may get result, you may get some result, but you will not get the result that you are aspiring to get. So willpower is what? Is the power of your brain. So पढ़ाई बहुत ज़रूरी है, नॉलेज उससे भी ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है, और नॉलेज से ऊपर एक्सपीरियंस से साथ नॉलेज, और सबसे ऊपर मेरे हिसाब से एटीट्यूड है. नॉलेज एप्टीट्यूड बनाता है, और आपका बिहेवियर और आपका इमोशनल कोशेंट जिसको बोलते हैं, ईक्यू बोलते हैं. आप लोग गूगल सर्च कीजिएगा. देयर वाज जब हम लोग बड़े हो रहे थे तो टर्म था IQ, इंटेलिजेंट कोशेंट. जो बॉबी फिशर चेस प्लेयर हैड अ हाईएस्ट IQ in the world at that time, 180 or something. I don't know mine, मुझे नहीं पता अपना, मैंने तो अभी टेस्ट नहीं किया. But now the new research says that IQ is important, but emotional quotient is even more important, because emotional quotient deals with both sides of the brain, and end of the day you will interact with the human being. So your EQ has to be higher, at a very high level. I will really suggest you कि आप YouTube पे ढूंढें, मे बी आपको कोई सोर्स मटेरियल भी मिल जाएगा EQ से ऊपर. So नॉलेज, पढ़ाई से ऊपर नॉलेज है, नॉलेज से ऊपर एप्टीट्यूड है, एप्टीट्यूड से ऊपर एटीट्यूड है, एटीट्यूड से ऊपर आपका एस्पिरेशन है, आप कहाँ जाना चाहते हो, आपका माइलस्टोन कहाँ है, गोल्स कहाँ है. आप अगर उस हिसाब से अपनी थॉट प्रोसेस देते हो तो आपको क्लैरिटी आएगी. At least it helped me, so I'm sharing my experience. I knew that if I have to work hard, if I have to reach to the top, I have to gain lot of knowledge. Then if I have got lot of knowledge, then I have to have the aptitude to do the problem solving. Right? Problem solving we all know. If I have the aptitude to do problem solving, then I have to have an attitude to be a responsible employee or a responsible manager or a responsible leader who gives result to the company, and with that attitude, and drives a positive attitude in the whole organization. And above that, and what drives you is your aspiration. So aspiration is your milestone, is a lighthouse, and you can reach lighthouse through many ways, and you have to it's a very complex world, but I think if you guys have come this far with your knowledge, with your focus and with your hard work, don't for a moment feel, my last few advices would be, don't feel that you are underprivileged because you are in this part of India. What you have, lot of other people don't have, right? There is no end to getting the knowledge. No knowledge is enough knowledge. If you are keeping the target or a focus in front of you, and then you work on the knowledge, work on your aptitude, work on your attitude, and keep that in front of you, have mentors like Prasad and other people in your life, Don't just read the subject matter knowledge, also read what is available around you so that it can develop your personality. And never feel shy. Never ever feel shy. There are 7 billion people in the world, right? 2 billion people don't have access to education even today. 30% of the global population don't have access to the quality education even today. Consider yourself very lucky to be part of not being in that 30%. You are very, very lucky to not be part of that 30%. And once we are at some stage, we have a responsibility to our parents, to our society, to ourselves. Don't forget that. Work hard and achieve your dreams. That's all I would like to say. Thank you very much. I may not have been very focused in my experience sharing because I went here and there, but it's not because I wanted to make it a sort of a lecture. I wanted to make it more of a conversation with all of you. Otherwise, my professional history is on the website. You can read. My professional journey. What I thought today was more important for me to connect with you at a human level. And this is my passion, to connect with people at human level. Because I feel that end of the day, we are all human beings. And whatever we will do is for betterment of our life and life of people around us. So that's all from my side. Prakash, I don't know how useful it was. Yeah.
I just would like to summarize this.
Yes. Yes.
Give it to me, please. Thank you very much. पहली बात सर हमारे लैंडलॉर्ड भी हैं, ये मैं आपको अंत में बता रहा हूँ. दूसरी बात मैं समराइज कर देता हूँ. दिस सेशन वाज लाइक अ प्रीच, अ सेंट. जिसे संत बहुत आराम से बोलते हैं, प्यार से बोलते हैं, समझाते हैं. प्रोसेस थोड़ा सा लंबा होता है, बट आजकल एक और भी दौर चला है कि हम बहुत तेज़ी से बोलेंगे, जल्दी बोलेंगे, ऊंचा बोलेंगे, चिल्ला कर बोलेंगे. इट वाज नॉट लाइक दैट. इट वाज वेरी नाइस सेशन. Right, guys? Yes, sir. We learned a lot. Yes, sir. It was like a saint preaching down, a modern monk, a urban monk. Right. And second thing, sir is from Hindi medium background. He studied here in Darbhanga. Then he did 12th and BTech from BIT Sindri. Right. And sir has been a very, very good student at mathematics, at logic, and he's originally from a science background. He comes from a family of doctors and a very humble and very, genuine background. But he pursued BTech, engineering, and after that he worked with so many multinational companies. He started with, NTPC, then he worked for Modi Xerox. There he decided that he will leave government jobs and start private jobs and all. Then sir worked for Bharti Airtel, and it was as a directorial position, and it was a sir's initiative to establish Airtel here in Bihar. So please clap once. I was also able to use cell phone. जब मैंने 10th करी थी 2002 में और 12 2004 में, तो उस टाइम तक हमारे लिए सेल फ़ोन बहुत ही एक बहुत बड़ी चीज़ हुआ करती थी. इट यूज़ टू बी वेरी रेयर. और थैंक यू वेरी मच सर कि आपकी वजह से हमें ये चीज़ पता नहीं था, बट टुडे वी कम टू नो.
नहीं ले सकता हूँ, बट मैंने उसमें उस सोच में थी हाँ यहाँ होना चाहिए, उसमें मैंने पूरी दम लगा दी थी उसके अंदर. या बिकॉज जनरली इन चीज़ों में इन्वेस्टमेंट में लोग बिहार से बाहर में लास्ट में सोचते हैं. मैंने सोचा बिहार तो बिल्कुल सामने लाना चाहिए इसमें.
And then sir he did MBA from FMS Delhi, which is India's top, or of course you can say in top 5 or top 10 that college comes. I have visited that place and that's amazing. Sir did MBA from there. Along with that
हायर एजुकेशन की जो लालसा थी वो बंद नहीं हुई. देन आई डिड अ ग्लोबल डिप्लोमा इन एडवांस मैनेजमेंट फ्रॉम the Lord School of Management in Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah. So
Very nice. ये भी बहुत अच्छा. Then sir worked for so many companies along with BT British Telecom. I have applied there in Gurgaon sir. Unfortunately I got rejected. मैंने अप्लाई किया था वहाँ British Telecom में, and it is a very nice company from Britain, British Telecom. Then sir went to Africa. There he, because sir's family members and relatives live there in Africa. तो सबसे पहले सर 12 साल की उम्र में गए थे. एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़, 12 साल की उम्र में ही इनके अंदर लालसा जगी that I should upgrade myself, and he started working. Right, and since then he has started working hard to be good at communication and all. बहुत मेहनत करी सर ने, 400-500 नॉवेल्स पढ़ी अपने घर पे. और वो लाइब्रेरी मैं तो ज़रूर विज़िट करूँगा सर, क्योंकि मेरे पास भी एक छोटी सी लाइब्रेरी है देयर एट माय होम, और मैं ज़रूर देखना चाहूँगा कलेक्शन. और स्पेशली आज से 150 साल पुरानी कलेक्शंस हैं. एम आई राइट सर? उसी टाइम में जब दादाजी ने किया 100 साल पुरानी?
नहीं 100 नहीं, ये दिस मस्ट बी अराउंड 1950s और सो, मतलब 70 साल तो ज़रूर हो गए होंगे. 70 साल तो
दैट मस्ट बी ग्रेट. तो मैं वहाँ जाकर सीखूँगा. Then sir went to Africa. There he worked again for Bharti Airtel, or then he's currently the CEO of Sterlite Power in Brazil. He lives and rarely he comes to India. We feel very great. For me especially, it was a great session. I learned a lot. What about you guys? Learned? Yes sir. Girls? Yes sir. Smriti? Yes sir. Very good. We always talk about attitude. We always talk about things we must learn out of the track. I mean, out of books and all. Do you guys have any question? Do you want to ask sir?
I have a request. But I want to visit that library.
Sir, actually he is too much, kind of bookworm. This guy is. He reads history and all a lot. You want to
Visit that library. I
want to. Library.
Yes.
Achha,
Along
very
with
nice.
you.
Yeah.
Along with you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else has questions? James, sir, this is James from Palpur, Bihar. And he speaks very good. Yeah.
Sir, what is the official language in Brazil, sir?
In Brazil, the official language is Portuguese. Yeah, and that's what I'm learning these days.
I heard about you, sir.
Yeah.
You are learning Portuguese.
Yeah.
And
So
sir speaks very good Portuguese also.
I'm still at the initial days, but I'm making an effort to learn it. I have a tutor, जैसे mentor और lighthouse होता है, तो I have a very nice tutor, personal coach provided by my office, because they feel that I can be more effective officer if I know the language. So now in about 8 months, I am able to understand and read almost 80-90%, and able to speak around 50%. So, but I am working hard to make it 100 in next 6 months or so. Yeah.
एंड सर यू सेड, आपने एक बात बताई थी कि पोर्टुगीज समझने के लिए आप पर डे न्यूज़ देखते हैं. आपका दिल नहीं करता देखने का, फिर भी आप देखते हैं, आप पढ़ने की कोशिश करते हैं, आप लोगों से बात करते हैं. आई वॉन्ट यू प्लीज़ टेल दीज गाइज कि ये भी अंग्रेजी सीखने के लिए अच्छी कंटेंट देखें, अच्छी चीज़, अच्छे लोगों से बात करें.
जैसे मैं न्यूज़ जो वहाँ पे इंटरनेशनल न्यूज़ नहीं देखता हूँ. एनीथिंग? अच्छा. मैं जो बिल्कुल जो साओ पॉलो, आई लिव इन सिटी ऑफ साओ पॉलो, which is one of the largest cities in the world with 30 million population. It had a lot of local channels, so I try to watch the local channels all the time. There they speak and in a very different way, because language is not just language, it's also about the accent. But I try to watch local channels. I sometimes try to read the local newspaper. I have not subscribed to any English channel, so that it forces me to do. One of my colleagues, he said he has learned French. He is a Brazilian guy. He says he has learned French by listening to radio.
He learned French by listening
to radio. So now I have an FM channel, and I listen to FM channel, Portuguese FM channel, and it's really helps me to learn a lot. So that's how I'm trying to upgrade myself with the knowledge.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing you guys can do by listening podcasts, radio, FM, right, sir?
And one more thing I do, and I tell this to everybody in front of me, that I will speak Portuguese. please don't mind if it is not the right Portuguese. Help me if it is not right so that I learn. But I don't shy away from not using it. I don't shy away from not using it. I try.
Done, guys.
And
Yes.
they become so happy that an Indian guy coming all the way from India is here for last 6-8 months. He is trying to speak my language. जैसे मान लीजिए कोई फॉरेनर यहाँ आते आपसे हिंदी में बात करे तो आपका जो उससे प्रति व्यवहार है एकदम से चेंज हो जाएगा. Same way I also see when I speak something in the meeting, even if I say how are you, Stuben, and all those things I say, they feel very connected. They don't see me as a foreign person. They see me as one of them, which is very important for me because in my role I can't be seen as a foreign person. I have to be like the leader who is then and there.
Yeah.
I am not an imported leader. I am part of their system. So that is what my effort is all about.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I heard one sentence that I didn't know what its meaning. Hawaya. It Portuguese or Spanish. Hawaya.
Hawaya, I am not how are you? So how are you in Portuguese? Tudo bem. How are you all? Tudo bem. Tudo bem. Tudo bem. Tudo bem. तो उसका जवाब है Stuben.
Right. All right, Bacha Party. Done. Thank you very much. We feel very nice right now. Thank you very much for coming and sharing your experience, sir. We learned a lot in the last. Thank you very much. Very nice. And God bless you. Jai Hind. Always.